The Hogsty is brought to you by TicketClub.com, your one-stop shop for live events nationwide. Whether you're looking for game, theater, or live performance tickets, don't sweat it. TicketClub.com has you covered. So make sure you're going there for all your live entertainment needs, and make sure you're clicking over to them from the banner at the top of thehogsty.com.
By fans, for fans, the Hog Style. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Welcome back to the Hogsty, DC's unofficial leading source for all things Redskins in the NFL. It's the show where everything's made up and most of our points don't matter. My name's Sean Conti, and I'm joined today by Steve, Thomas, and Alex Zeese. How you doing today, fellas?
Well, first, let me say I love the Who's Line reference you just made. That was
a
good little deep cut for anyone who doesn't know comedy.
Classic TV.
I'm a little hungover because I was at the Valor game last night, and when your team sucks, all you can do is drink. So
they've actually won a game though this year. I saw
they won one game by 1 point.
So to recap the Valor season, they've lost every game but one. They fired their coach, right? Didn't they fire their coach?
Yeah, they fired their coach there. I think on their fourth quarterback.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they've had to have played the same team over again a couple times. How many teams are even left in the Arena League?
Well, there's only 4 teams, so you play everyone 3 times. 12 games, so 4 times. You play everyone 4 times. It's terrible.
Now I'll say that the Valor actually have been very good to us in the past, I can't imagine this league is going to continue to go on. I mean, and on top of that, aren't all 4 teams owned by Monument?
No. 2 are owned by Monument, 2 are owned by Ron Jaworski.
Oh, Ron Jaworski's involved?
Yeah. Ron Jaworski and Dick Vermeil own the Philadelphia team.
I guess Ron needs something to do since he got fired by ESPN a couple years ago.
Yeah. Well, that's what he's doing now. He's just rolling in his money and watching.
Was there
football.
anything useful or interesting to come out of the Valor game last night, Alex Zeese?
The only thing I would say is that nothing really.
Tell us about the people, the great people you brought.
Yeah, what's the fan experience?
Tell us about the people that you brought with you to the game.
Oh, no one came.
And the
me.
reason was not
I
because you're a
find
loser.
People to come with me anymore. I just go solo.
The reason is not that you're a loser and you have to do things by yourself.
No, that's part of it. But the bigger reason is that
nobody wants to go.
I go to my friends who like football and they're like, why would I go watch that? That sounds awful.
No, I kind of understand where they're coming with that. No offense, but I mean, it hasn't caught on yet.
No.
I'm assuming it's still a very empty experience.
I would say about 1,000 people at the game.
I was entertained.
Yeah. So you got to give it time to catch on.
I was entertained when I watched it on TV last year because I did watch the one game I could find because we did that 1 or 2 episodes of the Valor show or whatever. Yeah, that really caught on. But the game I watched, I was not bored. I'll say that much for arena football.
No. It's football combined with basketball. That's how you need to look at it. And it's fun in that respect, but the coaches are terrible. They don't understand, I think, the concept of you're really trying to get to the last play. And, whoever has the ball at the end probably will win. That's the way the game works. So...
Ironically, it's almost exactly what I think a lot of casual football fans or people who aren't really football fans, it's ironically kind of what they want, I think, in the sport. It's a little bit faster. It's a little less,
right.
I assume there's less, meetings and debates about, plays and replays and whatnot. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would assume there's less.
It's what the NFL wants the NFL to become, where it's just high scoring, no defense.
See, there you go.
That's
if more people knew about it, I think more people would be into it.
Well, it's been around.
Well, part of the problem is they don't have the best players. They don't even have close to the best players. That's part of the problem.
No,
you got to attract
back
talent
in their
too.
peak
That's
when
right.
they had Kurt Warner and Jay Gruden were star players. That was a different era.
You know what they need to do? They needed to show like movies on the jumbotron or something during the game.
That'd be fun.
Like an alternative programming source. Have a video game tournament. Well, that's what they need to do.
When Gene Simmons owned that team in L.A., they made it fun. That's what it looked like.
I would dare say everything Gene Simmons does is
that.
probably fun at some level.
Yeah, probably.
Fun's probably his primary goal with most of the things.
His primary goal is praising himself and making money. Those are his primary goals.
Right.
Well, that can be fun. I mean, that's fun, Steve. What could be more fun than that?
He has fun in the money.
Exactly. All right, well, let's move on from Valor, unless anyone has any incredible Valor
I thought we were doing a detailed breakdown of the game.
No.
I don't know that our fans.
I don't know if we want to hear it. I don't know if we want to say it.
No,
exactly. I don't know that we have fans. Okay. So last week we had our replacement players finally receiving the rings they so much deserved. This week we had some award winners in the pantheon of Redskins players and coaches. Did we not?
Yeah. Both.
So tell us about these guys.
Okay. So the Redskin. One of the things. Let me just start with this. The NFL, for some reason, has never properly recognized assistant coaching as a valuable asset. Something that the Writers Association has done in the last 4 years to kind of correct this is they created the Paul Zimmerman Award for Assistant Coaching Excellence or something like that. It's a ridiculous name.
And you're saying the Writers Association. You are saying the journalists and people who write about.
He's saying there's an organization called the Pro Football Writers Association, which is where the Hall of Fame voters come from. Dr. Z was a big poobah. He hated the Redskins, but he was a big poobah in this organization, which is why the award's
right. He was kind of the godfather for a long time of that.
Yeah, quite literally the godfather.
Very nice.
Yeah, and so they created an award just for assistant coaches in 2014 to kind of give them more recognition. And the Redskins finally had two guys get this award this year. Emmett Thomas, who was the wide receiver and cornerbacks coach during the glory days of the 80s and 90s.
Beautiful.
And Joe Bugle got it as well. And, I mean, I kind of wrote something about it. We've talked about it a lot. That's a guy who you could give him every award ever made, and I think fans would say he deserves it, for what he did in creating the Hogs and creating probably the greatest team identity we've ever had. It's
not
great
just
to see
this team.
Bugle
I mean, any team.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, first of all.
Oh yeah, no question.
I mean, I wonder what they get with the award. Is it like a Chick-fil-A gift card, or what? It can't be much. But here, and don't get me wrong, people, because I'm really glad Joe Bugle got some, recognition, and Emmett Thomas
Props,
too. Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. But are there no good modern assistant coaches? They're going back to the 80s. To give an award out, I don't really get what they're.
That's what I was gonna ask. I mean, maybe that's the whole thing. It's like the Hall of Fame. It's like it's got to be decades in the future when you actually get the award. I don't know.
You would think that, but Emmett Thomas is apparently still coaching. He's 75 and still a corner
he is
coach.
somewhere. Yeah, but
Good
Bugle's been
grief.
retired for
Kansas
Bugle's
City.
been retired for 15 years, or 10 years at this point.
Yeah. Bugle retired. When did Gibbs?
10 it was 10 because Gibbs retired when Sean Taylor, the season Sean
2008.
Taylor died, which was 2007.
Yeah.
So it's been.
Was it 2007? I thought it was 2000.
No, he definitely died in 2000. I'm almost. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. I didn't carry.
And so
the
anyway, and point is, I mean, we're very happy for both of them. Congratulations, Emmett Thomas. Congratulations, Joe Bugle. I definitely think Joe Bugle should be in the Hall of Fame. It's a tragedy that he's not. It's a tragedy that the Hall of Fame hasn't recognized anybody on that, or on that group except Russ Grimm. Obviously Jacoby should be in there.
It's weird that they don't really recognize assistant coaches to begin with. To me, if you're a great defensive coordinator, a great, position coach, that is worthy of a lot more recognition than it gets.
And they're making good money compared to the rest of us schlubs out there. They are, but It's a hard life. It really is because they get fired all the time. They move around every couple years. There's zero stability. They don't get the the celebrity that that a head coach is going to get. Like Sean McVay is pulling models out of L.A. and assistant coaches aren't doing that. You're not pulling a Russian models if you're an assistant coach.
No, and
unfortunately, you're right.
Especially 80s assistant coaches where they're all kind of schlubby
Well,
looking.
if he had enough money, it doesn't matter. Don't you know enough about life to know that by now, Alex?
Oh, no, I know that, but I'm just saying. You go back and look at a lot of those coaches back in Gibbs' era, they're all, wearing the thick glasses and, they got their polo shirt tucked into their jeans, They got the spare tire. They're all out of shape. It's a
they got the spare tire. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. So he was offensive line for us, right?
Yes.
Bugle?
It's before your time.
Okay, so before my time, but at least I know that if you're putting Hall of Fame quality players out there on the field, and they're getting put in the Hall of Fame. You deserve it too. I think that's a great indicator of your quality as a coach as well. So just
I'd like to point out the irony of 2 Redskins coaches winning the Dr. Z award. By the way, because if Dr. Z got really sick 6 or 7 years ago at least, and I don't know if he's alive or dead now, but
I honestly am not sure. I'd have to look it up.
I don't know, but Dr. Z hated the Redskins. And a lot of times we hyperbolize that sort of stuff, but Dr. Z literally put it in print. Okay? If you read his columns, he was talking about, we have a creepy, weird franchise and all these things. It's not hyperbole to say Dr. Z had harbored a great dislike of the Washington Redskins. So I find it ironic that Joe Bugle and Emmett Thomas are the award winners for that.
Yeah. By the way, he is still alive. He's 85 years old.
I think he had like a stroke or something, so I don't know if he's...
Yeah, he did. Something happened. I remember because he stopped writing.
Yeah, and I cheered that. I don't, God bless you. I hope you're healthy, but I'm glad you're not writing.
Yeah, you didn't cheer the stroke. You cheered him.
Absolutely. I don't have. Yeah, I quit reading Peter King years ago because I just got tired of his crap too. And Dr. Z, they were both one and the same.
Well, they're that long-form writer that people love talking about.
Well, it wasn't, number one, Peter King tends to delve into other things other than football, which I don't really want to hear, and I don't agree with half of what he wrote. But he was another guy that I always thought harbored a dislike of the Redskins. I mean, that whole Art Monk thing, and, it's probably just me whining, I know, but I just got the sense, and I didn't like it, so I dumped him.
I get it. You know what? There's a lot of writers I don't like. There's probably more... I think with sports fans, we care more about the writers we don't like than the writers we like. It's a weird thing.
That's probably true.
No, I think that's true of a lot of things in life. A lot of different kinds of writers.
But
not
Peter
just
King in
writers.
particular needs to stick to football. Truly. He just goes way off into the never land.
I don't need to hear about bull riding or anything,
right.
as I like to say.
Right.
Fair enough. Well, on that note of bull riding, maybe we should get into the meat and potatoes that we have here today. So I think we're talking about wide receivers. We've got a poll to talk about, and just looking over this depth chart, guys, we've just got a couple wide receivers on this team. Just one or two, just a few. Just a couple that we could certainly spend a few minutes talking about.
So which one's the bull is my question to you, Sean, since we're transitioning from bull riding.
Oh, don't ask me. Don't ask me.
I have to applaud you for your transition, man. You go from Peter King to Bulls to wide receiver. See, that is a professional host, people. That's why we pay him so much money that we do. It's why we pay him a lot of money.
That's right.
Are we doing the poll? Is that where we're going with this?
I'm running
start with
it.
the
Okay.
Let's do.
All right,
what was
the
it?
poll
This
question this week was this: of the wide receivers only, excluding tight ends and running backs, who do you think will be Alex Smith's favorite receiving target this season? And in terms of results, let me go over the options here. Jameson Crowder, Josh Doxson, Paul Richardson, or someone else. Those are your choices. And I would say we hit, this one was a solid single. We got a decent number of votes, not a ton of comments. We kicked around some other options, and we went with this one principally because there were names instead of numbers, but it's the dead zone. I get that. Okay, so let's go. Let's start with Sean this week. Sean?
And I'm sorry, before you ask me, go the exact wording of the question again as it was posted.
Of the wide receivers only, excluding tight ends and running backs, who do you think will be Alex Smith's favorite receiving target this season? So I was trying to guide people away from automatically saying Jordan Reed, and of course people in the comments put Jordan Reed anyway, but that's all right.
Yeah. I was gonna say I did scan the comments, and it's a lot of.
It was a lot of we didn't read the question.
Like, why do people not understand the question?
They didn't read it. They just
no.
Yeah. And the options were Crowder, Richardson, Doxson, and
other. Yeah, someone else.
Other.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely not other.
I thought I'd give somebody the opportunity to put Darvin Kidsey, for example.
Yeah. Man, it's not Doxson. I'm gonna say just because of the kind of guy Alex Smith is. I hate to stereotype him. It's gonna be one of the first two.
The type of guy Alex Smith is. Does he not like tall guys from TCU, or what do you mean by that?
It just doesn't. The big knock on him throughout his career is he doesn't go super deep, which is kind of what Doxson, the role he has been playing with us.
I just thought it was like an anti-Texan
don't read too much into
something like that. Okay.
No, of course not. I would never, Steve. I will. I'll wrap this up. I'm gonna say Crowder.
Crowder.
Okay. I'm gonna say Crowder.
All right.
Alex.
I'm gonna All right. So my reasoning, personally, I think it is probably going to be Crowder.
So you think the fan? I forgot to say how we do this every week. You know what we're trying to predict is what the fans would have predicted first.
Right.
I'm going to say Crowder with that as well.
Okay,
I'm going to assume.
Yeah.
So.
I think Crowder will be the number one. I'm going to say our fans, and I'm going to knock them here. They were too dumb to read the question right, and they're going to say other.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Not to call our fans dumb, but that's fair.
No, I'm going to call them dumb if they picked other, and because they all want Jordan Reed.
Well, fortunately,
right.
Our fans aren't dumb, and the other was
Yay!
the other was last at only 6%. So that's good. Only 6% of you out there didn't read the question, which is good. Sean is right. It's Jamison Crowder. 56% of you out there said Jamison Crowder. Not surprising. He's the only proven one we have that the Redskins fans know. Josh Doxson.
And he's a great, slot guy, and we know Alex Smith likes
exactly
short
right.
passing
He had Terry Kill.
And,
Josh Doxson was number 2 at 23%. Paul Richardson came in third at 15%, and like I just said, 6% for other. I would, if I was voting, I did not vote in our poll, but I would have voted for Jamison Crowder also.
I think exactly the way the fan responds.
Crowder probably will be the guy.
Yeah, and the way that it broke down, I think, with the responses is exactly the way I would assume the three of them will do. I think Doxson will be 2. And then Richardson probably in productivity.
I'm going to save my Josh Doxson
in terms of the receivers.
Because we, we'll get to him. We didn't have a ton of comments this week. Like I said, we had some. You want me to get to a few comments?
Skip anyone who said Jordan Reed.
Okay. See, I have to go through these and highlight them, and I probably skipped over the Jordan Reed ones.
Okay, cool.
So, let's see. Okay, we're going to go just because we love the guy. Not really. We're going to go first with Cam White.
Hey, Austin.
Austin is one of our commenters down in the comment section.
I love him.
I don't love him so much.
Sean and I like him. Steve hates him. Politics.
I hate Steve, Austin, so it's okay.
I don't hate Austin. We disagree a lot, but no, I don't hate him. One other guy there I can say I hate, but we won't go into that. Okay, anyway, my point is he made a comment. And this is what I was leading to.
Right.
He says, Jameson to move the chains, but I wouldn't be surprised if Doxson and Richardson vie for the most TDs scored. In other words, Cam didn't really answer the question. He just hedged and said all three of them. But so
that's very
good. It wasn't
very clever.
Quite really
very
a great
clever.
comment. I just wanted to get it out there because he's one of our commenters.
No, he's not wrong in what he said. It's just not, he's not wrong.
Yeah, we're going to go with Jonathan Woods second, who is at jwoods703. Probably from Virginia, I would assume. Alex Smith loves slot receivers. This is what Alex was saying before, or Sean was saying. I'm looking for Crowder to have a breakout year. So that was his opinion. And, I found one. Here's a Jordan Reed one. We're going to go with Kyle at Redskins Pod. He writes, whoever's playing tight end. So thanks, Kyle, for commenting, and thanks for not answering the question. Brilliant.
He's also not necessarily wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the question, but
now, the last one I'm going to go with is, unfortunately, the way I printed this, it deleted his name, so I can't tell you who did this. But who Mr. Anonymous writes is Reed, probably if he stays healthy, but we can't expect him to at this point. Crowder should be looking in a big year as a safety net option, and having Richardson be able to clear out the underneath coverage, which is a pretty decent comment, quite honestly. So whoever you are, Mister, I'm sorry I cut off your name, but good comment. So that was the poll this week.
All right.
Yeah. I'm actually going to take back what I just said, by the way, too, and say that I don't actually think this year. I think the receivers, especially in the short game, are going to see more action than the tight ends do this year. Sorry. I had just said the opposite. I just want to revise that.
Interesting.
No, that is interesting. It's a different quarterback.
I'm kind of in agreement with that comment.
And I'm kind of done relying on Jordan Reed. I mean, the man just can't stay healthy.
That's what I'm saying.
Do it.
Exactly. Right. And he's not going to.
No. I mean, what you look at him as is, hey, he's here.
He's never played.
Just love him while you have him and get ready to lose him.
He's a 5-year vet, and he's never played 16 games his entire career. He's never even gotten close.
Right.
He had one season.
You can't build teams around guys like that. I'm sorry.
One season where he had 14 games, and the rest of them is, I just don't get it. Okay, so that was the poll. Do we want to bust into the wide receiver breakdown?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's
who do we want to start with?
Well, let's start with Josh Doxson because I think he is.
You're not going to give it to Crowder, the man of the
people?
people?
No, because I think Doxson is the most important. Don't you? I mean,
I'm with you.
He's the number one draft pick. He's going into his third year. Sure. 6'2", 202 out of TCU. And the thing about
definitely got some pressure on him this year too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does, and that's what I want to ask you guys about. We'll go over the numbers and everything in a minute, but I mean, I think everybody is safe to say that Josh and Doxson needs to do something. He missed his first year.
Yes.
Last year was kind of so-so. Understanding there were a bunch of issues. Is Doxson going to actually break out and become the player we intended to draft, or is this just going to be another in a long line of failed Redskins receivers? I think that's the question of the day.
See, I think there's a big in-between with what you're asking, though. It's not a black and white, he's either going to fail or he's going to succeed. I think you need to look at and say, what is his ceiling? And because to me, the idea that he was going to be, our Dez Bryant was absurd. I just don't quite see all the athletic skill there. He's a big guy. He's got the build, but he doesn't have some of the other stuff. What I see with Doxson is I see a number 2 guy who you can groom into a great red zone threat. He's got the hands and size to do the jump up fade pass that we all hate. If you can kind of keep coaching him up in that area. And I see a guy who will be a 700-yard, 10-touchdown a year kind of guy for a good 3-4 seasons. That's kind of where see
it's funny you say that, because I went back when preparing for this show, and looked at his draft profile, combine profile, and it doesn't have a name on here, but Lance Zierlein usually does these, and I talk about Lance a lot. But the last line of his comment here is, most believe he'll be a solid number 2 receiver. Which is exactly what Alex just said. The problem with that, to me, is that you don't draft a receiver in the upper middle of the first round.
To be your number 2. No.
Exactly. That's the problem.
No. That was a bad spot to draft him. Now, I will say, we've needed a red zone target forever. So, having a guy who has that skill set, I want that. I'm not going to get rid of a guy who just, with that skill.
I mean, and why do we think he's a red zone threat? The answer is he has a 41-inch vertical leap, which is
and he's 6'4".
He's 6'2". I mean, Pro Football Reference has him listed at 6'2". I think
I thought he was bigger than that.
Well, I think he measured out at 6'2.5" or something. He's one of those in between guys. So he's got that's if you can't really judge the verticals, that is like elite shooting guard level vertical. An NBA shooting guard level vertical. That's an outstanding vertical leap. So he does have that. He had a really fast short shuttle time, 4:08, which is really good. He can do it. I don't think he's the greatest route runner in the world. I think he relied in college on he just out-athleted everybody else. And so I think he had a lot to learn about how to be an NFL receiver, which kind of jives with what we saw, and it jives with what the experts saw. So at some point, he's either going to have to get it or he's not. That's why I didn't mean to be so black and white about it, but at some point, he's either going to have to get it or they're not going to re-sign him. That's really where I'm going with it.
Right.
Right.
Well, he's in an excellent position with this team going into this year. And this is why I think that Alex Smith isn't the quarterback that's going to lean that heavily on his deep threat wide receivers. He's going to benefit from not getting so much attention, I think. It's going to be much more attention on Crowder and the other underneath guys. He could really benefit from that this year. So in terms of seeing something from him finally this year, I think this is a really good time for Doxson. If he squanders this, then that's I think it's a major knock. At some point, you got to start questioning.
Yeah, and because he's a first-round pick, he's got this is year 3 of a 4-year contract, and then the Redskins also have there's an option that comes with all first-year contracts, so they could conceivably have him for 2018 plus 2 more years if they wanted to give him that kind of opportunity.
If they want,
or if he just tanks, they could get rid of him at the end of the 2019 season. Now.
But that 5th-year option would also be really pricey.
Right, yeah, it's a pricey thing. So they're not going to do that they'll do that if they think he could get it. If they just think that they're done with him, they're not going to do the option. But here's what the thing that's bothered me most about him, looking at his numbers, and last year, we'll just ignore 2016, only played 2 games,
Sure.
78 targets, 35 receptions. Ladies and gentlemen, that stinks. That's a 45% catch percentage, roughly.
That
just doesn't cut it for an NFL wide receiver. There's nowhere close to cutting it for an NFL wide receiver. Say that knowing that we had issues last year. I get that, but you got to catch more balls, man. I mean, you're not going to be here.
Well, and we had issues in other spots.
Right.
There was never an issue with Kirk Cousins throwing accurate balls. That was kind of his strength.
I mean, it's not on a deep ball, but sure.
No, not on a deep ball, but in general, he's an accurate passer.
Just if you're catching 45% of your passes, you're not going to stay an NFL wide receiver for very long. He's just got to do better.
And I think they fall in love with him being the 50-50 guy a bit too much last year, especially. And so I wonder if that, they need to take that out of his game a little bit. Not completely, obviously, but I want to see him used way more on those situational, you need 10 yards, just go get him 10 yards.
See, I don't think that's his strength, though. I mean, because you have to have those go get 10 yards guys are running crisp routes. They're running clean dig routes, those kind of things. And that's the part he needs to learn. The part I think that he's good at, he ought to be able to out-jump, out-leap a receiver. He can do that naturally just because he's explosive in that regard. So, sure. I think he needs to learn to be the other thing. If he's going to be the starting X receiver on this team, he's going to have to learn what you just suggested, Alex, and I'm not sure he's there yet.
Okay.
Just my opinion.
I think that's. I'm not going to disagree with you. I think he's got a ways to go.
Definitely has a ways to go.
But I'm willing to embrace what he is.
I just don't know what that is. What is that?
Like I said, I think it's hopefully a red zone target and somebody who can be a solid number 2.
Yeah. Which, of course, if he's a solid number 2, where's our number 1? That's a problem.
Right. Right. Well, do we want to talk about who's probably going to be the number 1 first?
Okay.
Because I think the number 1 this year is probably going to be Richardson. Or at least I think that's the plan.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't been convinced about Richardson. I wrote a really long piece about him back in March. If you want to read that, it's on our site. It was one of my So What's the Deal with Paul Richardson really series. And the thing about Paul Richardson is that his numbers with Seattle don't back up the contract he got. And if you watch his film, he can do a lot. He does have speed. He doesn't have Deshaun Jackson speed, but he has speed. He can run the full route tree, I think. He was hurt by having Russell Wilson as a quarterback, which we'll get into. But he also drops a bunch of balls. He drops ball. He's going to have stuff hit his hands, and he's not going to catch it. So I think it's kind of a gamble for the Redskins to sign him as big a contract as they did. That's my problem with him. You really have to hope that the scouts who watch the film, know what they're doing.
Yeah. I'll tell you what from what I've seen of him, I don't see a Deshaun Jackson type guy. Not at all. He's not a deep threat, but what he is he's Pierre Garçon. He's the guy who I think you do want to have. He can make contested catches pretty well. Like if you go watch some of his catches last year, he's always got somebody draped all over him. And he'll make a catch. So I trust him in that.
I wrote something similar in my piece about him. I think he's maybe 60% Garçon and 40% Jackson because he does have speed. He just doesn't have.
Sure. Yeah.
He does.
Well, Garçon had some speed.
Yeah,
too
but I think he's fast. He's faster than that, though. I think he's a better deep ball guy than you're giving him credit for. Just my opinions. But the Garçon was the X guy, and Richardson's going to be the Z, which is a little bit different. Different kind of position here. I think part of the reason why he had bad numbers is Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson, as good as he is, the way he plays does not lend itself to wide receivers who rely on precision and timing because, Wilson rolls out a lot. He scrambles a ton. He's always trying to find receivers on the fly. He's not as accurate when he does that. Richardson himself brought this up. If you guys remember in his press conference.
I remember him saying something about how that was Wilson's issue and Smith is going to be a lot better.
Yeah, he didn't mention Wilson by name, but here's what he said. He said, quote, "What stands out about Alex is that he doesn't have to leave the pocket. He can deliver balls on time in the pocket, and then when he does scramble, he's dangerous." Further said, "I really appreciate Alex's skill set. further says there just wasn't a lot of balls. There just wasn't. All of that is aimed at Russell Wilson because Wilson extends. If you watch all 22 in Seattle, Russell Wilson is extending these plays, holding the ball forever and forever because he's an athlete, and that doesn't lend itself well to Paul Richardson's game, I don't think.
Richardson is doing a lot of scramble drills. Okay, there's open space over there. Let me go over there. Okay, there's more open space over there. Let me go over there. Oh, there's the ball.
Yeah, but as a little guy who's a fast guy, he's a timing guy. I think he'll fit well in the West Coast offense. Sorry, Sean, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. I'm literally sitting here. If you can hear me clicking around, it's just because I'm literally sitting here pulling up highlights of Richardson right now just to look at him again.
Show prep on the fly.
I mean, I feel like it's just good to look at it, I feel like, and I've always felt this, he kind of has everything. I think he can create separation. He can make a really highly contested physical catch.
Right.
He's really good at keeping his feet down along the sidelines in bounds. He's like a really intelligent receiver. I don't know that he's necessarily a game breaker at any of those things, So it's like he's not the best in the league at any of those things. Right. Exactly. And I think, I don't know, just to put it in context of our whole conversation here, he's kind of the same situation. It's like we still don't necessarily have that number one guy. This is just another really solid all-around guy with playing experience who you can, who's going to be relatively dependable.
Sure.
But he's not necessarily the marquee guy that this team needs.
Then who's going to be the guy?
That's my thought.
I agree with you, Sean.
No,
the problem
nobody
is,
right now. We don't have that guy. That's what I would say. Is we don't have him.
I mean, one thing I'll point out is, we saw this last year at least a lot, that when Kirk was the quarterback, they spread the ball around quite a bit. You had a lot of games where 8, 9 guys were making catches. And I assume that's more Gruden's system than that was Kirk Cousins trying to make everybody happy.
I think you're probably right about that.
I'm not sure, but I'm wondering if that's going to continue. Maybe they kind of view it as you don't need the guy if you have 3 very good guys,
Yeah, and that's totally fair. Honestly, I think Richardson is another one of those guys that you haven't thought about because, the draft happened and, you just got distracted by other things. He's like Scandrick kind of in one of those ways. It's like a move we made that we haven't thought a whole lot about in the meantime. I think he's going to be hugely impactful. This is he's an extremely solid guy. We have 2 solid guys, or 3, I'm sorry, solid guys if you count.
I think the primary advantage Richardson is going to bring is I guess, Alex, you may not agree with me, but I think he is the guy who's going to be able to take the top off the defense, as the old saying goes, and run some deep routes. And scare defenses in a way that
I don't know that he's that.
Well,
fast,
I mean, he was timed at 4.28 at Colorado. He was.
Yeah, but if you watch him in games,
I agree. I'm not. Yeah. But he's faster than the guys we had. He's the fastest of the guys we have.
That's fair. He's probably our fastest.
I'm not
guy,
saying this is Darryl Green, but I'm saying is that a role that he was intended to play, I think, is to run the deep ball consistently. I think that's one of the reasons why we brought him.
They'll have him do it, but I think they're going to have Doxson do it at times too. I think the one thing that I was critical about with Jackson was defenses always knew, all right, you got to watch Jackson for the deep ball. I think if you have 2 guys who are about even in terms of being a deep threat, it actually makes it a little harder on the defense to say, is Doxson going to be the deep threat? Is Richardson going to be the deep threat every time?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you.
I'll tell you what, I so wish we had Deshaun Jackson back now that we've got Alex Smith, a guy who can throw a good deep ball.
Oh, me too.
Oh, it's just such a...
I mean, come on.
I think we just...
it would be a great one, too.
We just absolutely wasted Deshaun Jackson when we were here, I thought. But.
Well, and Jackson's being wasted right now down in Tampa.
As an aside, what kind of fool is Jameis Winston? My God.
Well,
a big one. A big fool. I mean, that's right. This goes back to the college days, his foolishness.
Right.
Remember, this is just a recurrence of the same foolishness he's displayed.
Yeah,
before.
You're right. I mean, I guess I gave him the benefit of the doubt too early before, but anyway, let's not get into that. Okay, Jamison Crowder next.
Guy's a chump.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Jamison Crowder next guy up. He's our slot receiver, 5'9", 177 out of Duke. Had really his breakout year was probably 2016, but he's been consistently good the entire time.
Right.
Very true.
Year, what did he have? 500 yards?
59 receptions, 604 yards as a rookie in 2015.
That's damn
67
good.
receptions, 847 yards as in 2016, and last year 66 receptions for 789 yards. Here's the thing: catch percentage, 75%, 67%, 64%. Notice how that is 20 to 30% higher than our buddy Josh Doxson. This is a dude.
Right.
So we got some weird comments in the poll from people who think that he can't catch because they're watching him fumble these punts and stuff. This is a man who has.
He can't catch. He shouldn't be doing punts. We all agree.
Yeah.
That's a different story.
Yeah. But he does have good hands, which is part of his charm. And I think one of the things about Jameson is he's a smart guy in terms of football smart. He went to Duke, number one, and I don't know how. I mean, all schools bend their standards a little bit, but you have to think that he's probably playing with a few cards more than an average deck because he was.
You would hope so. I mean, I know a lot of people in this area have anti-Duke, biases due to other sports, affiliations. But Duke and Stanford, you always assume those guys are going to be decently intelligent,
right?
Yeah, you would, but guys, did I ever tell you about the time in college that I got put in the math class for athletes on accident?
You did.
It was not a real class, guys. I think that this is the deal with athletes.
I'm not
in school. Hate to say
I'm
it,
not
but,
saying Jameson Crowder's Einstein. I'm simply saying that I think he's a smart player, Duke or no Duke. They're having him run option routes. And that's a lot for a young receiver. So they really,
You're right.
At least
he's got the mental capacity.
I don't know if he can do calculus, but from a football perspective, this is a smart player, and that's my point. He's in terms of in the pantheon of slot receivers. I mean, I'd at bare minimum put him in the upper echelon, somewhere at least. Now, punt returns, and he needs to stop. There's just no two ways about it.
He had one good year.
He had a half a good year.
Okay, he had one half.
Yeah,
because
I do these stats every week for the game previews. I was following him every week. He had a half a good year, and that was it. And other than that, he's been absolutely atrocious at it, which is why we brought in 3 guys to replace him.
Oh, and do you think his size had something to do with it?
No, I think it's his vision.
Can we be honest? He's a small guy. Right?
So what? I mean, Darrell Green was awesome at it. He was 5'8". Brian Mitchell's not any taller than Jameson. He's heavier, but
he's got bulk.
I think punt returns. It's all about vision. You have to be able to see it immediately and go. You can't. Not that I'm any kind of expert. I did it a little bit, and of course I was terrible at it. But I mean, you have to be able to see it immediately and go. You don't hesitate. You don't. You have to immediately go and take what's there. And Jameson isn't good at that. And then you throw the fumbles in, and it's a disaster. And he's been one of the worst.
A lot of his fumbles were on just muffing the catch.
He's been honestly one of the worst punt returners in the league. If you look at the numbers and everything. Yeah. Sorry, Jameson. I mean, Mrs. Crowder's probably mad at us, but I mean, the truth is what it is.
I don't think he cares. He doesn't want to be doing it any more than we want him to be doing it, I would imagine.
He's probably done with it. Yeah, that'd be my guess.
Yeah.
So that's Jameson.
Yeah, I really like Crowder. I feel like there's been time. So there's 2 things with him. I feel like and it's so hard. He's one of those guys that's hard to deduce because of other problems with the team. But he has a tendency to disappear at times.
True.
I feel like, and then 2, and this is a slight knock because he's a really good player. But there's been a couple times that he's been out there in space and he's come down with a catch, and I feel like. I want to ask him, did the team forget that you were there? Did the defense forget that you were out there? How did you get so wide open in that
Part of that is Jay.
It's just insane.
Part of that's Jay. I mean, Jay's good at scheming guys open.
And so that, so there you go. I mean, I don't want to call him lucky. Maybe it is the scheme superior, but that's been 2 things that I've noticed with Jameson. Once again, extremely freaking solid player, not a game breaker.
I'll conclude my Jameson Crowder thoughts with this. I think Jameson is a perfect example of while the pre-draft measurable numbers are important, you need to take them with a grain of salt to a certain extent. Because listen to these numbers. Tell me if you think this is a good receiver. Hand size, 8 3/4 inches. 40-yard dash, 4.56. 20-yard short shuttle, 4.26. 10 bench press reps. 10 feet 3 inches broad jump. Does that sound like a good receiver?
No, of course not.
Those are not
the measurables you'd think of.
But he's a very solid.
The combine is such bullshit.
He's a very solid player despite all that. He's got little baby hands, but he can catch.
It's the cerebral stuff, man. He's got the mentality for it. And The slot receiver type became very in vogue ever since the Patriots? Were they the ones who really kind of made that a thing?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, we've had slot receivers in football for decades.
Well, but I mean, like, that becoming a primary target, I
mean, your point is that they use the little slot guys, Julian Edelman and those guys. I mean, I don't know if I agree I'd go that far if they created it, but go ahead.
Okay, well, my question is, I'm concerned that other teams are going to see that Crowder's in his final year. Is he going to be someone we can afford to bring back long term at this point? That's something I'm starting to wonder about because this is his last season.
It's funny you say that.
You know
why it's funny you say that is because we may have drafted his replacement. I wasn't going to go to this guy next, but let's do it since you brought it up. Mr. Trey Quinn, who has endeared himself to the hearts and minds of Redskins fans everywhere by doing and saying the right things. Trey is a stereotypical slot receiver, 6 foot, 208 pounds, just absolutely tore up the Mid-America Conference in his senior year at SMU, was one of the leading receivers in the NCAA, 114 receptions in 13 games, which is just mind-boggling. Now, he didn't play a lot of good teams. It's coming against groups like Tulane, TCU, Connecticut, Tulsa. But Trey is a guy who, like Crowder, doesn't have elite athleticism. His combine doesn't blow you away. His numbers don't blow you away. But I watched a lot of Trey. This is another guy I wrote a long piece on. I watched a lot of Trey Quinn film. This is an advanced receiver right now today. Great route running, outstanding hands. He's a hand catcher. He doesn't let the ball get into him. Never does that. Outstanding route running, can run the whole route tree. This is a guy who, if he was a tenth or two faster and a little bit better athlete, would have been drafted much higher. So Quinn, where I was going with this is the long term. Quinn may be Crowder's replacement. If Quinn balls out here and shows something, it's not beyond the realm of I'm not saying it's likely, but it's not beyond the realm of possible that they may let Crowder go if they have enough faith in Trey Quinn. Unlikely, but possible.
He's a lot like Cole Beasley, and I'm not just saying that because they're little white guys with long blonde hair. No, I'm not. I'm not just saying that. He's small, he's quick, he's got good obvious game speed. I know you said his measurables weren't that fantastic, but you can tell just watching it, like you said, Steve, he's fast. He's smart. There's a lot of comparisons there. I see what you mean. I mean, it's too early to call it, I think. I hate to dog Jameson like that, but I think you're right. It's something to watch out for.
And listen, the history of Quinn is Mr. Irrelevant. And I know Alex knows this. The history of Mr. Irrelevance in the league has been awful. There's only been like 3 of them who've made it beyond like 2 years. It's been atrocious.
The Redskins' last one made it 1 season.
Yeah, it's been awful. And so, the tide of history is against him. And part of this just may be that we like him because he's a Redskin. But there's not a lot to dislike about him on film. He had great film in SMU. The problem is when he was at LSU, didn't do a thing, which is why he transferred to SMU. So, and LSU, granted, is a running team, and I understand that, but we'll just have to see it. We'll just have to see if his skills make up for his lack of athleticism. This guy is Ryan Grant, reborn.
Right.
This is Ryan Grant's, Ryan Grant's cousin.
Clone.
Yeah, he's a Ryan Grant clone. That's exactly what I think he is. A little bit faster than Grant, but a clone. So that is Trey Quinn.
All right, let's keep moving because we got 90 wide receivers left on this
Maurice
team.
Harris. Let's go to Maurice Harris next because he's proven himself, at least by being around for a couple of years now. 6'3", 200 pounds. Hasn't played a lot. Spent a lot of time in the practice squad, but I think we can. I won't speak for you guys, but when I've seen Maurice Harris play, I've been fairly impressed. I think he's a pretty complete wide receiver. He can do a lot of things. I think he can be a quality pro. Is he going to be the next, Art Monk? Probably not, but I think he can be a solid contributor. And I think this is the year he's finally going to get a significant amount of playing time. So this may be Maurice Harris's breakout year. Of this group, I'll say this. Maurice Harris will be the breakout guy this year.
I like that because I also, everything you see out of him when he does get a shot, he looks the part. He has the size. Yeah. He has the, pretty good hands. He's got, decent route running. Not, I think that's the stuff he needs to work on is some of the smaller fundamental stuff. But he definitely looks the part of being like a number one receiver.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I don't think he'll ever work out to be that. But if he can be our fourth guy, I'll be happy.
Listen, I mean, he's an undrafted free agent. If you get something like that out of him, great. Those of you wondering about his numbers, in 2016, 8 receptions for 66 yards. And last year, 4 receptions for 62 yards and 1 touchdown. So that was his career. That's his career numbers.
And now those aren't even number 4 numbers, obviously.
Well, it's because he was barely active.
Right.
He wasn't even. He was on the practice squad until. Let's see. Where do I have it here? They brought him up in November last year. So.
Okay, so he was basically active for the last month.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, that's Maurice Harris. Sean, do you have anything insightful to say about Maurice Harris before we move on?
Not really. I mean, intriguing. We'll see what he can do. Nothing stands out extremely.
Somebody book this. Whoever out there books these things for us. Book my prediction. Maurice Harris, Redskins wide receiver breakout star.
Okay.
Consider it booked.
We'll go with Brian Quick next. Because Brian Quick didn't really do much for us last year. 6 receptions, 76 yards. But he's a longtime vet. Had a pretty solid career with the St. Louis turned LA Rams, 6'3", 215 pounds. He didn't do much. He didn't have much opportunity last year. Only had 8 targets. Clearly, the team likes him. Otherwise, they would not have brought him back. Considering we have 85 million wide receivers, so Quick is another guy who may end up playing a bigger and better role than you might expect. Particularly, if some of these young guys don't come through. Quick will be there, and he's a solid pro.
I was surprised that he didn't get utilized more last year.
I was too.
Frankly.
Yeah, I really was.
He wasn't on a big contract, but he's exactly who you'd think they would have had as the fourth guy early on, and they didn't use him at all.
Yeah, and Quick is reasonably fast. He ran a 4.540 at the combine, being a bigger guy, I mean, he's got pretty good game speed. Again, I'm not saying this is Terrell Owens or anything, but he's a guy who I think can do well, if given
he had one really good 30-yard catch I remember last year at one point. Or maybe it was a 20-yard. But he had 1 or 2 big plays on a third down.
I mean, he can play. He just needs an opportunity. Yeah. He can play. And that's why they bought him.
What year is this with his team? What year is he going into?
Well, he's going into his second year, to answer your question. He was on a 1-year contract last year. He's on another 1-year contract this year. Min money. Yeah. He's only making $880,000, which in NFL terms is peanuts. To us, it would be a lot of money.
But he's what, 29 too?
Yeah, he's 29 years old. Just turned 29 this month.
Well, I wonder if they'll determine he's a good tool for Alex Smith, and they'll utilize him more. It could very well be he's a better guy for Smith. We'll have to see.
Okay, Robert Davis. He also captured hearts and minds of some Redskins fans last year. 6th-round draft pick, 2017. He's 6'3", 212. He's got mind-boggling combine numbers. 4.40, 41-inch vertical leap, shuttle time 4.28. I think he's what the shuttle time tells you. He may be more fast than quick, which is okay. I mean, he's 6'3", almost 6'4", so he's a big dude.
Right. You're not going to get a lot of twitch out of big dudes.
No, that's exactly right. Davis is the opposite of Trey Quinn. Total opposite of Trey Quinn. He's big. He's fast. He's an athlete. Very, very raw, which is why he was on the practice squad all but one game. Right. He's got a long way to go. But if this guy can put it together, he could really be dangerous. If someday he gets it and he has enough time and the team lets him develop without getting rid of him, he could really be dangerous if it all comes together for him. And that's, I think, what the fans see in Davis.
Yeah, I mean, we have some, some of our regular guys who we, who follow us and stuff, and comment on our blog. They love him. There's 2 or 3 guys who I don't think go more than 24 hours without saying how much they love Robert Davis.
He's got some moves. Yeah. He's got some sweet moves, man.
Considering how big he is, I think he's a good combination.
Yeah, he moves well.
Yeah, he's a good combination of size and athleticism. For him, it's just becoming an NFL receiver. I mean, the book on him.
He's got a good leap.
And by the way, he blew college away. He's Georgia State's best receiver ever, by far.
So, I always wonder about this. You got guys like that who they blow up in college and then they come to the NFL and just it never works out. It's very weird to me.
Well,
wide receiver is such a fickle position to transition from college to the pros.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I don't know why that is necessarily. There's a lot of, I think to the average person, wide receiver seems like something that's pretty easy to learn, because you're just running down the field.
Ball.
Yeah, but there's so much more to it than that, and there's technique wise, and it's hard to run good routes. It's tough to run good routes.
Is it that a lot of these colleges probably also aren't running the full tree that you need to run? I'm guessing.
Well, and it's a lot of it's their quarterbacks. Their quarterbacks, you can't get the ball down the field. You can't push the ball with the same velocity and the same accuracy as can an NFL quarterback. I mean, I don't know who Georgia State's quarterback was, but I can guarantee you Georgia State's quarterback is not Alex Smith. For example.
Oh, yeah,
he probably was a weak-armed average college guy who was at a mediocre mediocre university.
Right, and weak-armed average college guys these days are weaker armed than they were even 15 years ago.
Possibly so. So we don't need to spend too much time on Davis, but he's another guy I know a lot of fans are rooting for. I'm rooting for him because of his combination of size and speed, but I'm just telling you, this is a guy who needs to continue to work on his NFL receiving skills before he's going to get a ton of time. So that's Davis. Now, there are 4 – I don't know what kind of time we're at for the show here.
We're 50.
Okay. All right.
We got 10 minutes.
All right. So we're going to blow through these last guys here because I know we have another topic. There are 4 undrafted free agents on this team right now. Cam Sims, Darvin Kidsey, who I mentioned before, Shea Fields, and Simi Cobbs. Now, Cam Sims is a guy that who's our coach, Jay Gruden, our coach. Right. He mentioned Sims specifically at a press conference a couple weeks ago during OTAs when he was asked, hey, what undrafted rookies look good to you? He mentioned Cam Sims specifically. Cam is 6'5", huge, 214 pounds, out of Alabama.
Nice.
Another Alabama guy.
Well, I get steamed up for the 6'5" receiver.
The problem, of course, with a receiver from Alabama is that they don't throw the ball a ton at Alabama. Their quarterbacks suck in terms of passing. I think their best passing quarterback they've ever had in decades is A.J. McCarron, who's an average quarterback in the NFL. Like Jalen Hurts. Right. Nobody's going to mistake Jalen Hurts for Peyton Manning, for example.
No. They have a lot of guys who can run. That's kind of their thing.
So he only had 41 receptions in college, so in 4 years. So he's not blowing anybody away. The book on Sims, scouting wise, is he's slow, he's unathletic. He can't create separation because he's slow. So I think this is a guy who you're hoping can develop into a possession receiver, a guy who can learn to use his size and strength, which maybe he's doing because, again, Jay praised him. But that's a guy who you can hope to develop into like a backup X receiver who's a possession guy. So that is Sims. Kidsey.
Trade him to the Wizards.
He's tall enough. Kidsey, real quick, from North Texas, 6 foot, 183 pounds. Didn't do a lot in college. 48 receptions. Not much to say. He's got a shot. Shea Fields, same thing. Colorado, 5'11", 185. Had a productive career though at Colorado, 194 receptions. Ran a sub 4.540 at his pro day, so that's good. So that's Shea Fields. Simi Cobbs, we've seen some people praise Simi Cobbs. He's from Indiana, 6'4", 220, so he's another big guy. 139 receptions in college. So, he's got a ways to go, but we've heard some good things about him. He's slow, ran a 4.6, 4.40 at the combine. So that's almost tight end kind of speed. So he's got a battle ahead of him. So those are the undrafted free agents. Anybody have anything insightful to say about them?
Good luck, fellas.
Yeah.
Cam Sims is of those guys. Cam is definitely the one to watch, I think.
Sure.
Nice. All right, well, we'll keep our eyes on that then. So, wide receivers now taken care of.
Yes.
Should we do a little conversation just to kind of, because it's been a while since we've done it, kind of put the full team in a context here. Now we've done a pretty good number of position groups. How are we feeling in general about the state of the team, guys, at this point?
I'm actually pretty down on it. I think that.
And you're not feeling good, in other words.
No. I looked at the schedule again, and the schedule's going to be a rough one. I think even if you're a good team, this is the kind of schedule you're going to struggle with.
Yeah.
And
excuse me.
I mean, I know it's been a while, and I don't dislike Alex Smith, but anytime you change one of the big things like quarterback or coach, I expect you to take a step back that year. Like, I don't care what they say. I usually expect that to be a difficult transition just because those are the two key things on offense that you need. And, it takes time for everyone to gel.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, yeah, they do have a hard schedule. There's no doubt about it. They've got some tough road games. It's going to be brutal. That having been said, sometimes what looks like a hard schedule ends up not being a hard schedule just because of the way the cookie crumbles in the NFL. So, at first glance, in the middle of June, at the end of June, yes, the schedule looks difficult. I guess I'm more high on Alex Smith than maybe you are. This guy's a solid pro. He's played in a lot of offenses. He can do a lot of good things. He brings an element to the game that Kirk Cousins didn't, which is his athletic ability. This is one of the best scramblers in the I almost said the NBA. He's one of the best scramblers in the NFL, bar none. Has a ton of rushing yards, so that he's a threat in that regard. I think he has a better deep ball than Kirk does, and I think can at least be about roughly as accurate as Kirk was.
I mean, I don't doubt his ability to play. It's more you had a quarterback who you had 5 years of familiarity with in your system, and now you're starting that part over where, he will know the playbook, but will he, when everything's live firing, how well does it, hit the synapses?
You're right. I think Alex above, he's a solid long-time vet. I think he has a better chance than some at getting to that. To me, and this may be why you're sensing kind of downer too, is to me we have a lot of question marks at a lot of position groups. We have to have a lot of things go right. And if all those things go right, they can be good. They can be a very good team. If Darius Geis proves to be an elite running back, if Josh Doxson takes a step, if Paul Richardson proves, worthy of his contract, if Trent Williams stays healthy, if Jordan Reed stays healthy,
health you can say for 53 guys.
Well, I know, but but those are guys, Trent and Jordan in particular, have had health problems. Okay, they need to stay healthy. If on defense some of these guys pan out, we all like Jonathan Allen in the 6 games he played. Hopefully he takes another step. If Daron Payne isn't a bust, Daron Payne is an elite athlete, but he needs to learn how to be an NFL player. That needs to work out. So there's a lot of things I think that need to work out with this team, and if they work out, they can be really good. But if things don't quite work out, it may be couple that with a tough schedule, and you may be looking at another tough season. So I think the Redskins have a lot of questions in my mind.
Sean, what about you?
I agree. I can't really disagree with any of that. I kind of feel like, this is going to sound weird, but stick with me. I kind of feel like the team's going to come out and they're going to play worse than we're expecting them to, but they're still going to pull off a positive record and play relatively well. So in other words, I think they're going to get a positive record and have an okay season. It's just going to be ugly on the way. It's not going to look crisp. It's not going to look pretty.
Yeah, you're probably right. History backs that up, by the way. When have the Redskins ever had a pretty season since in 20
exactly.
years?
Well, even in some of Gibbs' glory years, they had some ugly seasons.
Oh yeah,
just the nature of the game.
I think a lot rides on Geis.
Yes.
A lot's going to ride on how effective that is. I like on paper the receivers that we have in terms of how well they'll match up with Alex Smith's strengths. I kind of like on paper the way that works out. But just coming from the year we had last year and so many different things, how can you really predict? How can you really deduce? There's so many variables.
How wrong have these critics been about Darius Geis so far? Can we talk about this?
It's comical.
Yeah, we're running out of time here. We need to end this. But, Geis was painted as a bad guy, and he dropped to the second round.
That's right.
This guy's been a model citizen in D.C. For those of you who don't know, he's raising money for cancer charities. He's taken fans to the movies. He bought out a movie theater for, I think it was the Avengers, a few weeks ago.
Yeah. He bought and just gave tickets to fans.
He's done nothing but been an outstanding citizen. He's interacted with the fans. He's been absolute great guy. Everything you want out of a rookie. We'll see him on the field, but in terms of character, he's been the complete opposite of what all you Dumbledorfs out there thought of this guy. Is that forgive me for my? I don't want to. I'm trying not to curse. Okay, and Bumbledorf came out of my mouth.
You just made a Harry Potter reference.
I don't know. I've never seen or read Harry Potter, like so I mean, all similarity was accidental. It's what popped out of my mouth, Bumbledorf.
You know what he's doing? He's reverse trolling. Usually when you're trolling, you become your worst self to piss off your people that you're arguing with. Geist is reverse trolling in that he is becoming his best self to piss off everybody who said he was a bad
That's right. He's killing us with kindness.
Well, I think also he's just a nice guy. I've never seen him anything but pleasant and nice in interviews and stuff.
I think you're right.
I mean, I'm not saying he's doing it on purpose. Of course, I'm just saying that's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I mean, and I wouldn't be bothered at all if he was doing it on purpose. That's the game.
Results are what matter. Yeah,
that's the game right matters. There.
I mean, maybe he's snorting coke with prostitutes at night, but I mean, as long as he keeps that to himself and doesn't get busted for drugs,
do it all you want.
I don't really mean that, buddy. People. It was a joke.
No. We don't need another, off the field issue like that.
Yeah, God knows we really don't.
Point is, Sean's right. I mean,
I think
even if it's an act, he's doing the act. He's playing it. He's doing it right. That's my point. Sorry.
And absolutely.
I don't get the sense that it's an act with him, but
I think he's just thrilled to be where he is. He had a really tough, awful childhood in some respects. He loves his mama. He wanted to get his family out. He's out now, and he's got a great career ahead of him. I think the man is very, very happy, and he's shown none of the negative character signs that we were told he had. So enough Darius, guys.
None.
Yep. And that's the first step. Hopefully scoring some damn touchdowns this year will be the next step. That's the most important part. Okay, anything else going on in your lives, fellas? What do you got? Weekend plans? You doing anything fun? What's going on?
Since they're not going to hear this till the weekend's over, it's really more.
Well, tell them what you're going to do / did by the time they heard.
Well, I'm probably going to have to watch Sean Dion Hamilton film this week. That's exciting. That's probably going to be Tuesday's column unless I come up with something better between now and Sunday night. It's probably going to be Sean Dion Hamilton, which means I'm going to have to go watch Alabama film from 2016. So that may be a big chunk of Sunday.
Ouch. Okay. Well, on that's perfect then, folks. If you're still listening at this point, send us some damn topic ideas for the dead zone of the year that we're stuck in right now. We're doing our position group breakdowns. We're giving you the news as it comes. But if you have something you want to hear, or you got an idea for an angle or some kind of story to take, feel free to hit us on Twitter or on our website in the comments section, wherever you want to. Send an email to thehogstie@gmail.com. Shoot it on.
Because if you don't, you're going to get film breakdowns of 5th-round draft pick linebackers.
And you're going to have to damn well like it. All right, cool. Well, we'll let you all get back to your lives. With that, have a great one, and we'll see you next time right here on the Hogstie.